This is a tutorial on the Ensoniq EPS-16 Plus sequencer. The sequencer is very capable. It's on par with the computer solutions at the time, which would be 1990-ish. Obviously, it doesn't have the advantage of a visual display, but it's still very capable, especially compared to other onboard sequencers, such as the Ensoniq Mirage, which is nearly worthless, the Ensoniq ESQ, the EMU, EMAX, those are all very limited sequencers. The sequencer on the EPS-16 can generally get you where you want to go. It's just a matter of a little hard work and possibly some workarounds. I've already loaded up some drum sounds, which is how I'm going to be approaching the sequencer tutorial, is via the mindset of recording drums. These concepts will apply to other instruments, but there's some specific nuances with drum recording that I want to address. So load up a comparable instrument and we'll play that back. Okay, so that's all good. Now, to record that into a pattern instead of playing it live, the first thing to do is to create a new sequence. When you first boot the EPS-16, it's going to have sequence 1 already created, but we're going to go through this process to show exactly what to do. Command, sequence, create new sequence, yes. It lets you name it. We're going to go with the default sequence 2. Yes. Time signature, that's usually going to be in 4/4. Feel free to change that to anything you want if you're a prog rocker. That's perfect. Command completed, so now we have a brand new sequence. It's ready to go. To start recording that, we want to set up our sequence first. Okay, so this is telling us we're going to be recording to sequence 2. There's only one bar as of now. You can't change that. That's just a readout. So there's one bar in the sequence. Tempo, we need to set that. Even though we can alter that later, the tempo is going to define the click track. So that's our initial tempo. Loop on, that is loop for playback. You can have that on and off for your preferences. What I like to do is leave it on, at least initially, and then you can make sure everything's in time and the beat is looping properly. Clock source, you generally want to leave that. If you want to slave it to another MIDI device, you can change that. Most people will ignore that. Click will be played back when you're recording. If you have that selected, you can change it to on, so it's always on. You can turn it off, so it's always off. We want record. There's not really any reason to have it on while you're playing it back, in my opinion. The click quarter notes, that is a very good, even without being cluttered, metronome or click track setting. Click volume, I always leave that at 99. The better you can hear the click, the better in time you'll probably be. Click pan, some people like to pan that to one channel or the other to help separate the instrument from the click. I leave it pan centered. Out, that is very important on the click. Bus 3, that will be free from effects. If you go down to bus 1, any effect that you have on bus 1, be it reverb, distortion, flange, whatever, the click will be played through that bus and you'll hear the click with those effects. So the click will be blending into the instrument, which is probably not what you want. Bus 3 is very recommended for click. Sequencer count off, that would be if you are about to record. It's going to give you a 4 count in before recording. You can turn that all the way off, so there's no count in. You can turn it on to quiet, so there's still the lead in, but you don't hear the click track. I recommend leaving it on record. Record mode, replace. What that does is every time that you go to record a sequence, anything there will be erased and your new notes will take their place. Add, that will stack notes. So if you had a drum pattern with just the hi-hats, you wanted to add a kick and snare to it, it's going to keep any data already there and just add the new note data. Looped. This works like an MPC is typically used, where the drum loop keeps going and you just add percussion as you go. Even though this is looped mode, don't confuse that with the loop function that we saw earlier on. That loop is just for playback. This looped is for the recording mode. So it works just like add, but it puts it into a loop until you specifically tell it to stop. Add is just one time through and will stop when you're at the end of the sequence. Record source, you can use the internal keyboard or an external MIDI device. Recording both is generally what I leave it set on. Now we're back to the sequence info, and I find it easier to record when I leave it on the screen because it gives you the bar count. If we don't want this to be called sequence, command sequence, page 2, rename song or sequence. We can call this sequence A, just for fun. Go back to sequence. So now we have a sequence A. We can page through if we want to record to a different sequence. You'll see sequence 1 here. You can go into song mode, but we want sequence A. To record, you hold down record, hit play. You'll hear the click. And it's waiting for me to start playing in this case. So I'm going to play some hi-hats in time with the click. Now you'll notice it says 3 bars. Now that's because it got part way into bar 3 before I hit stop. If you have a foot pedal, you can be quick on the draw. Sometimes with your hand you can hit stop quickly enough that it will only keep 2 bars, which is what we were actually going for. We'll say yes, we want to keep it. The way to fix that is do command sequence, change sequence length, yes. We don't want to add, we want to change that to delete 1 bar at 3. So we want to get rid of the mostly blank bar 3. Yes. So now if we go back to edit sequence, go to bar, you can see there's only 2 bars available, which is perfect. We can play this back. So that's what we had. Now, when it played back, it automatically looped because we had loop on. So that's why it played back 4 bars. If we turn this to off, you'll notice when we hit play, it only played the 2 bars that we have in that sequence. Now, you probably noticed my timing was pretty sloppy on those hats. So the way to fix that is command track, quantize track, yes, track 1, that's what we have here, our only instrument. Quantize to quarter notes. We can change that to various values. You can do triplets, 1/8 notes, so on and so forth. But in this case, we want the quarter notes, so we'll say yes. Range, entire range, that's going to do any notes at all. So this is where drum programming differs from normal instrument programming. You can tailor track editing towards specific drum sounds by only using the notes of that drum. What I mean to say is if you want to only affect the timing of the hats versus the entire drum kit, you can specify that. If you want to affect the timing of all of the drum sounds, then you would choose entire track. Usually on instruments, you would want to affect the timing of every single note at once and not specify a range of notes. You wouldn't want the lower notes to be locked into time and have the higher notes drift off. So you wouldn't usually need that separation on a traditional instrument. But for drum sounds, the entire track versus set ranges is very, very handy. In this case, we only have the hi-hats on this track at the moment, so we don't really need to set ranges. We can just do the entire track and it's not going to make any difference. Okay, so that's what we want. We'll do entire track. Now you can preview this. This is the newly quantized. If we hit play, and our hats are dead on now. If we want to compare that with the sloppy playing, we can highlight old and hit play. But in this case, we do want to fix our hats. Now we have a sequence that has a quantized straight 8 cymbal pattern. I find it easier to play to cymbals than the click track. So what I would like to do is save this simple cymbal pattern so I can use it later as a starting point. Command, sequence, save current sequence. Yes, you can name this. We can name it anything that we want. We'll just do we'll name this fresh. Now we have that pattern on disk, so anytime we want, we can do command, sequence, delete sequence. We'll delete fresh. Now that's gone. We'll hit play. There's nothing in there now. You'll see edit sequence. There's sequence 1, but fresh is gone. So to get that back, load sequence. We have fresh on disk here. Hit yes. Edit sequence. We have fresh. We play it back. There's our cymbal pattern. Perfect. So now we can start recording new drums anytime, and we'll have this as a template to work from. So what we want to do is go in and change this to looped mode, make sure that's on. So when we hit record play, it gives us the count in, and now our cymbals are playing. And it's going to keep looping over and over. You'll see this overdub light flash when it goes back to the 1. That's a nice little indicator that they probably didn't intend, but I find it handy. So anything we play now is going to be added on top of these cymbals. It's not going to replace them. Perfect. So now we hit stop. And if we go to old and hit play, we should just hear only the cymbals. Yep. Go to new and hit play. And we got exactly what we wanted. So we want to pick new. Now, if we want to fix the timing of the kick or the snare, command track, quantize track, track 1, quantize to quarter notes. We can change that to 1/8 notes if we have a busier pattern, 1/16 notes if we have a snare roll. So our pattern's really simple, so we can just do 8s. Let's say we like the feel of the snare being off time and we just want to quantize the kicks. We can do set ranges. It's going to ask us what the key is. We hit the key or our drum pad for the kick. So now our quantize is only going to affect just that kick, the only key that we input into here. So you can do both bars, either one bar, any of the beats. So if you just want to quantize the first bar and not the second, if you just want to quantize the first beat on the first bar to make sure that is a really solid one and locked in, we can do that. We're going to do the whole entire thing. So now we can play back the old one. If we go to new, now our kicks are exactly locked in. Now let's say we want to add some percussion in there. Our mode's still set to looped, which is what we want. Record play. It's going to give us the count in. We'll hit stop. Our old simple pattern. Then our new one. Okay, we'll accept that. Now, what we did was we added some cymbals in there. We probably don't want the crash in there at the same time as the hi-hats. So we can do command track. Event edit track. This gives you every single note of your sequence, and you can page through it step by step and hear exactly what's going on. So there's our kick on the one. There's a hat on the one. You can see right here, it tells you exactly where in time it is. Bar 1, beat 1, and it's stuck right to the very first clock of beat 1. Now we have the crash cymbal. We didn't quantize it, so you'll notice that it's on bar 1, beat 1, but the clock is on 6. That means it's slightly behind the beat compared to our quantized kick and hat. So if we want, we can go back to this hat, pick delete. Now we have the kick on the one, the crash that's on the one but slightly behind the kick. We have our next event, which is another hat that's on beat 2. Since there's so much decay on the crash cymbal, I don't want this hat in there either. So I'm going to hit yes or enter, go to delete, hit enter. Now that's gone. And you can go through every single event. If we just wanted to remove the toms, we could do that. We're just going to say hit no or cancel, and it's going to give us the option to save it. So we can play our new. And you'll notice that the hats are gone compared to our original. So we'll pick yes, this is our new pattern that we like. Hit play. Perfect. Now you'll notice that there was a ride cymbal I added in there on top of the hi-hat cymbals. I don't like the way that sounds, it's clashing. Let's say I want to ditch all of the ride cymbals in the entire sequence. We don't have to go to the event editor like we just did to delete those couple of hi-hats that were under the crash. There's another way we can approach that. Command track. Filter event. This is a powerful function. You can pick various things. You can pick pitch bends, sustains, volume, anything that the controller has recorded in the sequence you can alter. In this case, key events is what we want. That's going to be, you hit the drum pad, you hit the keyboard key, that's counted as a key event, okay? So we want to erase the key events. Mode, erase, that's what we want. Range, entire track. We don't want to erase all the key events. That would eliminate our kicks, the cymbals, the snare, everything. We just want to erase the ride, right? So we pick set ranges, yes, play our ride. Okay, so now we hit yes. You can pick the bar. If you only wanted to erase the ride cymbal, we could specify that. If we wanted further control, we can specify the beat range. We're just going to erase the whole thing because I don't want ride in there at the moment at all. So we'll play this back. This is our old one. You can hear the ride cymbal was still in there. Perfect. No more ride, no more clashing cymbals. Now there's something very confusing initially about the way the EPS-16 handles playback volume in a sequence, and it's very easy to get hung up on it if you don't understand what's going on. If you do load instrument, okay, so we have our instrument here, right? Volume. If we turn this down and hit play, you would think shouldn't play it back at all. We wouldn't be able to hear it. But we can. Why is that? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, edit, track, page through the options, and you'll see the mix volume here. What that's doing is the volume for the track is overriding the volume for the instrument. Now, you would also think if we turn this down all the way, we could set this to whatever we want. So if we didn't want to hear it, we can set mix volume to 0, hit play. Now we're in trouble because every time the sequence plays, it resets the mix to 99. If we hit play and quickly turn the volume down, you can hear the volume is affected, but then once we hit play again, it resets it. That doesn't make it very handy for mixing. If we wanted to turn the volume of the drums down in relation to any other instruments we might have loaded, even if we go through and set the individual volumes, every time we hit play, the EPS-16 is going to ruin our mix. The way around that is to realize that when you first record notes into a sequence, it takes the value for the volume of whatever is set in the instrument initially. We had that stuck at 99 when we recorded the sequence, and then it recorded that as automation into the track So if we wanted to fade in, we could change that automation value to 0 and then have it rise to 99. Or if we wanted to fade out, we could have the volume at 99 and drop it to 0. That's very handy, but if it's storing the volume at 99 the entire way through the track, then that's just really confusing us. So the thing to do here would be to erase all that automation data unless we needed it for fade in, fade out, or the effect of manually riding the fader, such as making the chorus louder, that kind of thing. We could do that on the track, but we don't want that right now. So we do Command Track, Filter Event. We want mix down volume, yes. Mode, erase, entire track, yes. And we'll save that. Now you'll see it performs much differently if we do edit track, our mix. We can change that. We'll put it down to 60. Much quieter. And now we can hit play again, and you'll notice it's not messing around and resetting it. We can also do load instrument, and now our volume is set to 60, just like the track volume was. So if we change that back to 99, hit play, do edit track, our mix volume is reflected. So if there's no automation data, then the instrument value and the track value reflect each other. This is, in my opinion, the easiest way to fix that. The other way to do it, if you have a final volume that you want, let's say we want this to be at 70 all the time, and we want that to be automation value. Okay, we have that set. You do sequence, edit sequence, and you'll see if we go to record mode, if we do add, okay, we want that in add mode, do record play. Now we don't even have to do anything at all here. Okay, it's taking the value for the track volume that we set and adding that into this sequence. Then we'll say yes. Now if we do edit track, every time that you hit play, it's going to go back because our value that we put in the track mode was just added into the sequence via the record function. And you'll also notice if we go into load instrument, now our volume, it doesn't matter. It keeps wanting to set it back to 70. Because that's what the track automation data keeps telling it. The other thing that we can do is edit track. You'll see the mix volume here. There's also, if you page left from there, different play modes. You'll have the P, which you can select for each bin. So if we had other instruments, we could hit 2 and it would move the cursor over here. If we picked 8, it would move the cursor over here. You can page up and down and you'll get different letters. So M, that's for mute. If we hit play right now, we wouldn't be able to hear the drums, which is the case. We go up, that's play. We should be able to hear it. That's going to be normal mode. If we go S, that's solo. So if there were any other instruments loaded, we'd hit play and we would only be able to hit the solo instruments. Any of them stuck in M or P would not play back. So we can see in this case that solo mode doesn't do anything particular because there's no other instruments loaded that we need to take into account. In effect, just working like the normal P mode. So we'll put that back to P. And if you decide that you just don't like this pattern at all, you could do Command sequence, delete sequence. That's going to clear the entire sequence from memory. The other thing that you can do is if you do Command track, erase undefined track, hit yes, track 1, okay. The difference between this is if we go to edit sequence, you'll see fresh. Well, we just erased the track data, so there's no notes in the sequence. If we hit play, there's nothing there to be played, but it kept the sequence name in memory because we didn't actually erase the sequence itself. We just erased the data in the sequence. So if we do Command sequence, delete sequence, sequence fresh, yes. Now there is nothing at all. We do edit sequence and we're back to sequence 1. There is no additional sequence in memory, period. Now there's one more related function to this, which is basically the go nuclear start from scratch entirely. Command sequence, there's delete sequence, and then there's erase song and all sequences. So if you want to erase everything, just like you powered off your EPS-16, you hit yes, erase all sequence data. Any loaded sequences, anything in the track recordings, totally gone. The only thing remaining is our loaded instrument, but if we do edit sequence, there's nothing in there except the default sequence 1, which will be totally blank. What I'm going to do is load up a sequence from disk here. And we can do edit sequence. And I'm going to go through and see the tempo changes here. We can drop that. To whatever we want or raise it to whatever we want. Which makes it handy if you want to record at a slower tempo or a more comfortable tempo. You can do that and then just alter that after the sequence is recorded. Now there's some other advanced functions. If you do Command track, instead of quantizing, we can do shift track by clocks. So we'll hit OK, track 1, shift amount. Now what's going to happen is that track is shifted in time. So if you, say, had a sequence with a bass guitar and you want your drums to be early or late, we just shifted that in time. It's now going to start later relative to other instruments because we just shifted that. You can do Command track, edit event track, and you can see if you page through, the clock is different. So it's still on bar 1, beat 1, but instead of it being clock 1, which is the very, very start of the sequence, it's on clock 71 because we added 70, so it's delayed by 70 clock amounts. Now, how far can you push that clock before it turns into a new beat? Let's find out. Command, shift track by clocks. Track 1, shift amount. Let's do 30. Yes, we'll keep the new pattern. Go Command track. edit event. We'll go through. Event 1 is now on beat 2. So we were at 71. We added 30 to that. But now we're on beat 2, clock 5. There are 96 clock events per beat. So if you wanted to shift that into bar 1, beat 1, the very, very end of that, we would do command, track, shift track by clocks. We're gonna do, we'll do -5, and then do command, track, edit event. There it is. So that is bar 1, beat 1, clock 96. If we added one more to that, it would become beat 2.